gonna swim, bike, and run in the corner sun. We're gonna swim, bike, and run in the corner sun. 2021.
Thank you, Poncho Man. So good to have everybody back again. This is Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. We are brought to you by Challenge North America, by Hoka One, Credo Tri, VeloFix, Normatec, UCAN, Canyon Bikes, and our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest, the CEO of Challenge North America, Mr. Bill Christy. Bill, how the heck you doing?
Good, my friend. Always happy to be here with you guys.
Always a pleasure. So you've got a big event coming up. You've got the pro race coming up at Challenge Miami on the 12th. You've got the sprint race on the 13th. You've got the longer distance race on the 14th. And there hasn't been a lot of racing going on in this world. How are things shaping up for you guys?
You know, we are way farther on budget than I had expected from a headcount standpoint. First race in Miami. Miami's really dedicated around the Latin American environment. That's really why we put that race on, was to draw all those, the other side of the equator trainees, right? Everybody's been training for coming to races in the States to draw. But you can't forget about the fact we've got 1,100, I think the total number, we tried to calculate triathletes as a function of population, but there's 11 million residents in Dayton-Broward County. So we expected about 1,100 just from that geography alone. We've well exceeded our budget from a head count. It was our first year. So we're excited about that. We're excited about the number of people who are coming. It's going to be a great event. The weather's beautiful down there. I was just down there yesterday for the NASCAR Cup event. I think I posted it on my Instagram.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Homestead Raceway.
Homestead Miami Raceway, which is, it took us 32 minutes from the airport to get to the hotel.
Oh, perfect. So coming off of Challenge Daytona, what were the learnings for you and your team from that? Obviously, the numbers were huge on NBC, on Peacock, for the live stream. You also had the age group race. What did you take away from that to help you with Miami?
You know, we're pretty tough on ourselves. And you know that you've been a part of our postmortems that we do, where we beat the heck out of ourselves. Things that nobody else would notice, we do. I think Daytona this year taught us mostly about camera angles for NASCAR productions. We made some fantastic strides there. We did not spend enough time watching the back of the field come forward. Tio did a great job coming forward, finished 10th. Lionel, as you know, those guys came out of the water way behind where they wanted to. Although both of them have assured me they've been working on their swim dramatically. We didn't follow them through the bike coming up as closely as we should have, nor a few of the other athletes. Maglev Ditlev was one of those that we probably should have kept a better eye on. So we've got a team dedicated to watching those splits on, and you've seen those NASCAR split timing computers that are constantly changing and updating. So we've got a team of 2 people that are going to do nothing besides watch those and the dynamics to make sure we're covering all that live action. We missed Anne Haug last year going 4 wide, coming up through the pack on the bike where she was penalized. And that penalty was a function of crossing that 45-second barrier. 4 wide is tough. We surely would have liked to have had that on TV. So we've added some cameras. We've added some locations and pinpoints for hard points on cameras that we think we're not going to miss this year. Probably the most exciting for me is that we're going to have a microphone in the penalty tent. There are some heated debates going on that we missed, and we're surely not going to miss those this year because that makes for great entertainment and TV.
So for someone like yourself who's been involved with NASCAR as an age group triathlete, what was it about this sport that you felt was lacking in television coverage and that you guys could bring to the table that hadn't been brought to the table before?
let's be fair, this sport prior to Daytona was boring to watch. It was painful. Although I think clearly you have to give credit to the Olympians and NBC and the product they put out.
Mm-hmm.
We still think that viewership wants shorter segments, right? So if you look at all the data and you look at all the media folks, they're all talking about watching live stream on their phones, and they want those phone components to be shorter, smaller, bigger hits of content. And so we made a decision this year to not use Peacock. NBC was gracious enough to allow us to do our own live stream on Facebook, where it will be a lot more interactive. Responses will come through with questions being asked or comments. And we're excited about that component as well. So that was one of the other big takeaways. The live stream last year, although we don't have the Peacock data, we know that we went over to 120 countries. We know it was over 500 million homes. We know the U.S. viewership was about 700,000 sustained, about 1.42 million people in and out of the show. For the cut down version, we know that the live stream abroad was significant. And we know that we made, and I think I asked you this question. I think I called you and said, hey, Bob, is 34 million impressions a big deal? And you said, yeah, that's a really big deal. And I said, okay. Deal. And I didn't know. Since then, we have gotten some of the global reach data. It's going out, I think, in a press release today that talks specifically about number of countries, number of people who watched, and we were blown away. So I think what we learned was that with 400,000 triathletes in the United States being the biggest marketplace and having 700,000 people watch, that there are people other than triathletes that tuned into the TV station. So that was our other takeaway. But from a production quality standpoint, we really want to focus on the people that are coming up through the pack, or lead changes that affect the front of the pack, or lead changes that are surprises, right? People dropping out that we had no expectation that, that were going to drop out. And we saw that quite a few times in Daytona. So we'll spend more time there.
So with the pro race this year being, for Miami being on a Friday, are they on the oval? Are they on a road course? What's going to happen this year?
We wanted to shake it up. So we did it on Friday for two reasons. The first reason we did it on Friday was the international TV stations, and we're actually going to have a printout for international broadcasts when they can expect to see the programs released, and we'll put that out on social media. We did it on Friday because the NASCAR production team was asked by IMG to have a product ready for them Monday morning for distribution. And so the pro race, and the other part of it was the pro race, the pros wanted to be able to enjoy the sprint and the age group athletes to be there to handle out, socially distanced, of course, with masks, of course, hand out awards and hand out medals. As you know, that's a big part of who we are and what we are to join everybody together. So I think that with all of that going on, the combination of what we learned, what we're adding, doing the pro race Friday night, so we have the product available for Monday distribution around the world, was really the prime factor why Friday as opposed to Saturday.
So moving forward, I know you've had a number of different networks interested in the product. Have you made a decision on where you guys are going to go for the next? We are.
We're happy. We are. We're happy to announce, and I know I held you up on this one, so I appreciate it.
That's all right.
Yeah. But we announced a 2-year deal with NBC for all Challenge North America races. This event, Miami, will be aired on 3/18 at 2 p.m., Saturday 3/21 at 1 p.m., and then again at 2:30 p.m. on Sunday on 3/22. So 3 showings on NBCSN. With the programming changes that are going on over there, they're going to do their best to get us on the big station as well. That will be for both Miami and Daytona this year. Obviously, that includes the Glen next year. We'll be introducing those dates, and then one other race next year. We're still working on our friends at Sonoma. They're awful gracious. Jill Gregory just left NASCAR to go over to be president of Sonoma Raceway. She's very familiar with the TV numbers and very excited. We're going to miss her at NASCAR, I will tell you that, but she's going to do great things over with SMI. So we're excited to have her there pitching for us.
I know you're looking down the line as 15 events, Challenge North America between Canada and the U.S. And there's a number of tracks that don't have access to water or water close by. At those venues, will you still be able to put on events?
You and I've had this conversation. We've had it with a couple of folks as well. We think duathlon is very underserved.
Yes.
We think a time trial event's underserved. And we think half marathon in a unique trication experience is underserved. So while we've got the 15 core races that we're focusing on, those are clearly expansion plans that we just can't miss that opportunity. People are crying for it. We think we're going to do a great job and give the same experience. You know us. We want it to be, whether it's your first time crossing the line or your 30th time crossing the line, we want it to be a world championship experience. And we believe that those two other races are really struggling to find a home. And we think that our venues really produce that product.
Well, your venues, just when we're doing our show and I'm looking behind me and seeing just acres and acres, knowing that you could be doing clinics, you can be doing camps, you could be doing rock concerts, you could be doing things in the evening, in the mornings. You're not having to block off roads. There's so many possibilities there. And the hard part is not doing it all at once. I'm sure that's driving you crazy because you're
11 events in 2.5 days is busy. I will tell you that. It's pushing the operations team. But yeah, expanding it through possibly a week is definitely one of the topics of conversation within my group, especially the music component, the festival component. I think it's fair to say that Watkins Glen, we will be participating, I specifically, and I'm hoping to drag you along, is to participate in the 5K, 10K wine walk. There's so many spectacular vineyards right there at Watkins Glen. I'm looking forward to that because I'm not sure that my ops team is going to let me race, so it might be the closest I get to a finisher medal.
So after Challenge Daytona, we've obviously the pro race drew a ton of media and was great. And sometimes the age group stuff can get lost in the shuffle. And the age groupers, you're an age grouper, I'm an age grouper, that's important to us. What you did for the awards with the helmets, so unique. Nobody'd ever seen that before. Talk a little bit about the feedback you got from age groupers and how you're seeing that transfer over to Challenge Miami.
So let's talk about two components of that. First is the age grouper, which is extremely important to us, not only from a revenue component, but really from an experience standpoint. Mm-hmm. Look, we all want to be pros. Let's be fair. I want to be able to have a time that says I wasn't that far off. Now, you and I both know that's never going to happen for me.
Never.
But there are a lot of age groupers that is a reality to. So you will be able to see on our Challenge North America YouTube channel the age group races, both sprint and middle. And we'll have fixed cameras throughout the facility that will actually allow you to go and watch yourself race. You're going to see a lot of other people race as well, but we'll get better at refining that. Our plan is down the road to have the same kind of coverage or similar coverage to the age group races as we do for the pro race, because I think that's important. The second part is let's talk about the helmets. Yes. So we made a decision that said each race will be unique with its own helmet. Miami's is white, and it's got Challenge Miami on it in the colors you would expect of Miami. It's got a green palm tree and a pink flamingo on it.
Yep.
Still says Challenge Miami on it, and it's spectacular the way it says it on the shield. So Miami will be white. I'm guessing Watkins Glen will have a grape or two on it and maybe a wine glass. So every one of the helmets will be unique for every facility that we utilize. And the response was crazy. You know, I got personal emails and social media blasts that, you know, the most cool award I've ever gotten. We're clearing off space and pushing away all our other trophies just to make one specific space for this helmet. So I think it was received pretty well.
The day after the event in Daytona, you had a NASCAR media training for the pros, right? I don't think I've ever seen a media training day for the professional triathletes before. What was the feedback from the pros and from your NASCAR folks? Because was their first introduction to these pro athletes.
You know, two parts to that question. The first part was, what did the pros think? They were ecstatic. They had never seen anything like it. And Eric Nyquist, and I have to give him a shout out, did such an unbelievable job with Chip Weil. Mm-hmm. And he said, your message needs to be 3 components and focus on those 3 components. And they asked great questions. It was very interactive. They all walked away saying, wow, we've never seen anything like this. And I think the best part from my perspective was how excited Eric and Chip were to have that enthusiastic, energized, and eager to learn group of people. Now, we set up 2 cases where we're going to try and demonstrate the effect of social media content, media, pushing on 2 of the pros that step forward and say, hey, we'd like to be the test case. So we're waiting to hear back on how that's going. Eric Nyquist gives me about a weekly update on that. Very excited about that. But all in all, they were blown away at the fact that they had an opportunity to talk to people that do this for a living and that cared about them as a group. So we're continually looking for ways to add value to the professional triathletes. This week, do you remember the pointer that we had on so the pointer on top of the bicycles and on top of the runners showing splits? We gave probably about, as a test, 20 pros the opportunity to go to their sponsors and say, hey, it's been a tough couple of years. We're going to offer this to you at no charge, but we'd like to have our contracts paid in full prior to Miami. So, you know, my logic to the pros was they can see you on a bike 3 times a year in front of 2,000 or 3,000 age groupers, or you can be seen by 500 million homes and hundreds of thousands of people on that bike with a pointer. I think it might be a pretty good leveraging opportunity to talk to your sponsors. So I'm interested to see how that goes. We will help there wherever we can. Eric and his group have said they'd step in and help if they need to have those conversations. So, you know, identifying the pros and their ability to make a living and to continue to make this sport grow is important. As important in my mind's eye is giving the age groupers an experience they've never had before. So I'll announce right now, if you are the age group winner, male or female, you will be holding a check over the top of your head in Miami on the podium.
Wow.
It's a big check. But I'd like to think that it's been the first time done in the United States. And we're excited about that, just to give it an added twist, right? I think that person needs to be recognized. It's a pretty big accomplishment.
Overall age grouper, dollars?
Overall age grouper.
Sweet.
There it is. I'm holding up my check.
I like it. I like it.
Fun?
I love it. Well, I mean, the other thing that I think is fascinating, here you got NASCAR TV that's used to covering people going 180 to 200 miles an hour, right? And people, how are they going to cover? They've never covered triathlon before. I mean, one of your NASCAR guys like, what do they go, 30? I think we'll be able to sit in our pickup truck with the Westcam camera in the back. And
What'd you think of that, right? 3 of those things running around.
Yeah.
It's, but they come at it from a very different perspective. Their perspective is, wow, this is new. We've got to learn new things.
Yes.
So, and I don't know if you saw it, but my favorite part of the Daytona road race was there was a ground camera shooting into the window of Chase Elliott as Chase was thrown off the course, and you see him maneuvering that car at a really high speed trying to get out of that grass. And there's turf flying everywhere, and you see his hands moving, trying to respond to the whole thing. Think about those kind of angles for a triathlete who's maneuvering the course. And as we talked about, but I didn't really finish because clearly I got sidetracked, which, as you know, is not unusual for me to do.
Yeah.
But the bike course is going to be the road course in Miami, and the run course is going to be the oval. And we did that because there's some real technical turns in there, and we think that that's going to add dramatically to the experience for the pro race and make it and differentiate it from Daytona. Daytona, we kept everybody down in aero bars for the intention of equalizing the ITU folks from the middle distance folks, from the long distance folks, and it paid off, right?
Yes.
It was an equalizer until you got to Gustav at the end, and Matt Hansen, who came out of nowhere. So we think that's going to be an exciting component to it. I'm going to be down Wednesday, and I've got 2 swims scheduled myself, so I'm looking forward to getting into the lake down there. It's beautiful. It's spring-fed. It's clear as clear can be, and it's deep. So,
will you see putting cameras on the bikes at some point?
There is no question that there's a high degree of momentum around cameras on the bikes. And I don't know if we talked about this last time, so I'll repeat it.
Yeah.
Mike Helton, who is the grandfather and commissioner of NASCAR competition, there was a conversation between him and Jared Schumacher, and I think Sebi was there and a couple other folks. And the camera adds about a 1 pound in weight to the bike. And there was a lot of discussion about, well, we're not so sure, a pound, this is a big deal. And Mike Helton looked at him and said, hey, look, there's so many things we can learn from you. One of the things we're hoping you can learn from us is the pound really matters until the guy or gal who crosses the finish line first has a camera. And then the camera weight doesn't really seem like that big a deal anymore. Yeah. So it was an interesting conversation. We've got them there. We'd like to utilize them. We don't want to force anybody to utilize them, but there's going to be a race where the cameras are going to be on the bikes, and people are going to be glad they're there.
Well, it'd be interesting because you get, especially at some of these races where someone knows that they're not going to be winning, to be able to say, hey, I get some good TV time from my sponsors by putting cameras on my bike. I'll take the pound. I could see half the field doing that.
That's a great point. I hadn't really even thought about that. The front of the pack's probably not going to want to do it, but the middle of the pack or back in the pack probably would. I hadn't thought about that. That's actually a great idea. We're going to.
I'll do that in a heartbeat. When I look at your list, I bet Starkey would do it, right? Just because this field, it's going to be really difficult for him to run away from anybody. But on the bike, he would be amazing with the camera on it. But I think you get a number of these folks who would be, who would go for it.
We developed them, and the BSI folks have been spectacular. They're the guys who wrote the books on doing this, and their team, the guys and gals that are there, are just really special. So the technology's there, the live feed's there. It shoots up to the low orbiting plane that then pumps that data back down to NASCAR Productions in the feed. So we've got that real-time data. They're ready to do it. I just need to have some discussions with some folks. To your point,
I'm happy to.
When we get down.
Yeah. We'll identify some folks for you. They'll do it in the
Love
heartbeat.
that. Get them on the show and say, hey, is a pound going to matter if you're winning?
No. Especially if you're getting some great camera time for you and okay, I got fourth, but I got way more coverage than anybody else.
That's one of the other things we're going to try and do is, from a camera perspective, one of the things that we learned from Tour de France, and we went back and ripped that footage apart, was they did a great job of, zooming in on the athlete, and as they're panning out, panning down onto the sponsorship on the bike or the shoes and panning out. So we're going to do a lot more of that, and I think that's going to really benefit the endemics.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, our goal is to go non-endemic. You can only make so many bicycles and so many pair of shoes, but when you're a big bank, things are different when you're looking at hosting hundreds of thousands of new customers. So we're really going to chase that world pretty hard.
So from a sponsorship perspective, the non-endemics or the endemics will be at the expo and things like that. But in terms of your sponsorship targets, you're looking banks, financial, etc.
Absolutely, Bob. Post Miami, we've got some agreements in place that we're going to do some very gracious things for that are above and beyond what they contracted for, that I know they're going to be excited about. But past that, going to Daytona, the business model, as I've shared with you before, is broken. We think the NASCAR model works. We think that the TV component down the line a couple of years is going to start recognizing, like they did with UFC and Ninja, that people want that entertainment. People want that content.
Mm-hmm.
And if we can ratify TV deals, we'll share those economics. And that'll also make for a better product for the age groupers as we extend NASCAR productions to age groupers. And I think that's, I would love that if I was an age grouper. They just have to stay out there a long time.
So we kick off Breakfast with Bob March 10th, 8 a.m., 8:30, and I just love it. Day one is, Lucy Charles and Lionel Sanders and Ben Hoffman and Jan Frodeno, among others. And day two, we'll have a couple of surprises that are going to be a lot of fun. So we can't wait. It's going to be a ton of fun.
We can't wait. I'm trying to figure out a way to blue screen a picture of Jan and Lionel. Lionel wants a piece of Jan so bad he can't taste it.
Oh, I know.
And so we're thinking about blue screening him, doing the nose-to-nose like the weigh-in for the fighters do.
Yep.
Haven't gotten through that yet with NASCAR Productions, but I think we can pull that off. So, yeah, it's going to be a slugfest for sure. Matt Hoffman, do not count him out. Lionel and his experience. So this is his third time at a stadium. That experience adds a lot.
Yeah.
I know we've got Jan coming in and he's number one in the world, but he's never done these kind of courses. So don't count out Matt and don't count out Lionel and some of the other folks. It's going to be an interesting race.
How many turns are in this road course? How long is the course?
You're going to get me with that. I think it's 265 on the road course. It's 1.5 mile around the track. So I think you do about 1.5 miles on the road course. The road course, you exit pit row, you bank a slight left, you go to a hairpin left that comes back down parallel to the lake. You make one more hairpin and then you're back out on the track for half the track. And then you come back through pit road and you do it again. So I think it's 38
cyclist course. You got to be a good bike handler.
Yeah, 38 miles. Yeah, it'd be perfect for a bike camera. So we really need to investigate that. Maybe we make a couple of pitches through the Breakfast with Bob show and just say, hey, are you going to be in? Are you in or out?
Exactly. You got to do it. Hey, Billy, always a pleasure. I can't wait. We'll be down there a week from tomorrow, and it'll be great to catch up.
We're going to catch up then. NBCSN. If you don't know how to get it, you got to get to your cable provider and make sure you've got the channel, that it's accessible for you. I do that before the races. 2 on the weekend, 1 the Thursday before on the 18th. So make sure you can get it. Live stream on Challenge North America's YouTube. There'll be live interaction through the live feed. Looking for a great show. We are going to do something a little bit different because of the nature of the road course. The women will be finishing the bike and the men will be in the water. So the women will be running while the men are on the bike. And that's really pretty spectacular because we can bounce through all the live action at the same time.
Oh, so both, everybody would be one show basically rather than two separate entities.
But we still want all the women to finish first and we want all the men to finish first. And that finish line thing was a very, very important thing to me and my bride, as you well know. So
yes,
we want to give everybody their due.
I love it. Bill Christy, again, has been our guest, CEO of Challenge North America. We have Challenge Miami coming up on the 12th is the pro race, and that people want to be watching. But Billy, people can still sign up to participate, right, in the age group races?
They can. We don't have a lot of slots left for the middle. I think that the duathlon's about ready to shut down, so is the relay in the middle distance, the 70.3 mile. We've got some space in the kids race. Kids race is already about 100, which that's my favorite race.
Absolutely.
They're relentless, boy. Those kids are tough.
They go for it.
And so, we've got a little bit of space open. As you know, we cap numbers for COVID.
Mm-hmm.
We're excited about having you down, and we're excited about the race, and it's going to be a great weekend.
Bill Christy has been our guest. Again, Challenge North America. This is Challenge Miami coming up next weekend, 12th, 13th, 14th. Breakfast with Bob, not quite Kona edition. Billy, you're the best. Take care of yourself.
Poncho Man's the best. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it always. Cheers.